Just a quick note before we start, this episode was recorded before the PWHL's recent expansion announcements. Have a listen to this.
Ella Shelton scores! History is hers!
That's the sound of the very first goal scored in the PWHL, the Professional Women's Hockey League.
A moment in history. What a moment for Ella Shelton.
Been over a year since Ella Shelton of Ingersoll, Ontario shot that fateful puck in the net back in January 2024. Since then, the PWHL has only grown. They're now wrapping up their second season and have broadcast partnerships in all markets. And over 1 million fans have come out in person to watch the 6 teams play. And Scotiabank is the official bank of the league.
I think it's fair to say we've exceeded all of our expectations and we continue to grow and feel such a great response from our fans.
That's Jayna Hefford. She's a 4-time Team Canada Olympic hockey gold medalist. She's also an inductee to the Hockey Hall of Fame. But her most recent title is the Executive Vice President of Hockey Operations for the Professional Women's Hockey League. And having seen 2 other women's professional leagues fail to thrive in the past, she knew when it came time to start the PWHL, it wasn't just a matter of assembling a bunch of players and hoping for the best.
When we launched the league, it was really important for us, and it was really a mandate from leadership that we not be afraid to think differently, not be afraid to make mistakes, and make sure we are creative and innovative in how we present ourselves.
Jayna's our guest this episode, and she'll tell Armina Lagaya all about this still young but hugely successful league, and how the business strategy behind it helped propel it past a successful launch and into part of what's becoming a cultural movement.
We're at this period of time where people are really valuing women's professional sport. They're intrigued by it. It's accessible. It's starting to become more visible. Fans have just gravitated towards it because they want to be a part of this movement. I think this is just the tip of the iceberg.
I'm Stephen Maurice, and this is Perspectives. Now here's Armina Lagaya.
Jayna, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
So this is the PWHL's second season. What's your overall assessment of this season so far?
Well, I think, first of all, we're extremely proud of how the league has grown. And in a very short period to launch in January of 2024, season 1, and going into this season, now that we're probably 3/4 of the way through season 2, I think it's fair to say we've exceeded all of our expectations and we continue to grow and feel such a great response from our fans. I think the fan engagement is something that has maybe surprised us that it happened so quickly, but our fans are amazingly passionate. They're loyal. They continue to show up, and we've seen it even outside of our 6 markets. We had 9 takeover games this year across North America, and they have been overwhelmingly successful, selling out many NHL rinks across North America. I think when we think about fan engagement, we think about obviously ticket sales and how we show up in markets with full buildings. We look at the online engagement and we look at merchandise sales, which we have had a hard time even keeping up with because our fans just can't seem to get enough of the league. And so I think those are all things that tell us that our fans are invested and they're excited and they're going to continue to grow with us. And then I think from a hockey standpoint, we continue to see the game just getting better. The players are stronger and faster and more skilled, and we continue to try to be innovative in how we present the game to our fans. And they have absolutely just welcomed all of those changes and really have been so incredibly passionate about the product that ends up on the ice every night.
Mm-hmm. I wanted to go back to the attendance again because I think you recently reached the 1 million fan attendance mark, which is a big milestone. So obviously there's growth, but I'm wondering what's the makeup of the attendance? Does it lean toward women and girls or is it more broad? What are you seeing?
We have an incredibly broad demographic, I believe, of our fan base and may even surprise people. We do have a high number of women and girls, but we see a lot of young boys. We see a lot of, older couples that, want to be part of a community. We have a very strong LGBTQ plus community as well. And so from minor hockey kids to just women's sports fans and people that want to feel a part of something, we offer a product that is overwhelmingly positive and exciting and fast. And it's just such a great environment to be a part of.
And so that first year, there was a lot of excitement because the league was new. What was your strategy for this season to sort of sustain that, to keep people coming back when it's not new? What did you bring to the table this time?
Well, I think it always starts with the product on the ice, and we have the best players in the world. We know in many of our markets, they're really strong hockey markets. So you've got the fan base that are there. And I think people that have a chance to experience it want to come back. But we also know we have to earn people's time and people's money. There's a lot of entertainment products out there. So ensuring that the game presentation is really great, ensuring that we think differently about the game, how we present it, as I mentioned, with few small rule changes that we've added to our game. And I think this is just the tip of the iceberg. I think we're continuing to see more and more people that are still seeing their first PWHL game or being exposed to it for the first time. And again, we have this fan base that once they come once, they want to come again. And that's just something that just continues to grow with momentum.
I want to go back to the rule tweaks. Can you explain the 3-2-1-0 point system, the jailbreak rule, and how are they working out? What did that bring to the game?
Well, when we launched the league, it was really important for us, and it was, really a mandate from leadership that we not be afraid to think differently, not be afraid to make mistakes, and make sure we are creative and innovative in how we present ourselves. And so that's where it all began. And we have an amazing hockey operations team here at the league that I work very closely with. And, we've challenged one another on that. So one of the first things we did is we said, it needed to be a 3-2-1-0 point system. What that means is 3 points for a regulation win, 2 points for a shootout or an overtime win, 1 point for a shootout overtime loss, and 0 points for a regulation loss. And we thought that was important because it really ensured that teams went for regulation wins. It was rewarded when teams could win in regulation. So that forced them to potentially be a little more aggressive late in games or when games are tied. And so now what we're seeing in the standings is that teams can make up or lose a lot of ground in the standings with that 3-point system. And it's been something that our fans have really loved and really, I think, provided a lot of entertainment for them as they watch the teams jockey for playoff positioning. The second thing we did was we added what we called the jailbreak rule. And that was where a team is shorthanded with only 4 players on the ice. And if they score a goal, they actually get their player out of the penalty box. And this is quite untraditional when it comes to hockey, but it's something that our fans have really loved. And, it's kind of taken on its own persona, the idea of this jailbreak goal. And fans get excited when teams are shorthanded. They get excited when players are more aggressive and teams are more aggressive trying to score goals. So much like every sport, we want to be entertaining for the fans. And so more goals in the game is really important. And then thirdly, we introduced this year in season 2, something called the no escape rule. And similarly, we wanted to increase power play percentages, more power play goals. And the rule basically is that when you take a penalty, the 4 players who are left on the ice need to stay on the ice. So they cannot change until play resumes. So the power play gets a little bit of an advantage potentially right off the bat with either tired players or players that aren't traditionally penalty killers. So again, it's really increased our power play percentages somewhat significantly, and it's allowed for more entertainment for our fans.
You talked about not being afraid to do something different, and you know more than anyone else that this is the 3rd iteration of a women's professional hockey league. So I'm wondering from your perspective, what has been key to the PWHL's success? Is it doing something differently? Was there a different approach this time? Or is it also that there does seem to be, and it's a good thing to see, a broader movement when it comes to popularity, interest in women's professional sports? So what do you think it was that made this 3rd time the charm?
I think there's 3 things that come to mind for me. The first is the investment that's been made, and having an owner in Mark Walter, who is an owner of the Los Angeles Dodgers, Chelsea FC, LA Sparks, many other successful organizations. And to have that at the top from a financial perspective, but also a successful sports perspective. And then we have an advisory board made up of Billie Jean King and Alana Kloss, Stan Kasten and Royce Cohen from the Dodgers. And so these are people that are successful everywhere they go and everything they touch. And so to have that type of leadership and commitment, again, both financially, but also from a professional sports industry, that has made an incredible difference. It might be the biggest difference in every past league we've seen. I think secondly, we have the best players in the world all playing in one league. So we continue to attract more and more players from outside North America because they want to be a part of this league. They want to be a part of the best league in the world. And when you can put the best athletes in the world together in one league, it's something that fans are going to rally around. The majority of players come from Canada and the United States, but we also have many players that represent other countries like Czechia, Sweden, Finland, Switzerland, Austria, France, and many others. So we continue to see that global impact grow, and that's something that's really important to us as a league.
Mm-hmm.
I think the third part for us is really about this point in time. And I think you alluded to that, where we're seeing momentum in women's sports, whether it's basketball, soccer, lots of other women's professional sports leagues that are launching. And we're seeing it here in Canada as well with the NSL that's soon to launch. And so we're at this period of time where people are really valuing women's professional sport. They're intrigued by it. It's accessible. It's starting to become more visible. And fans have just gravitated towards it because they want to be a part of this movement. And so I also think there's a point in time where this was the right time for a league like this to launch.
Mm-hmm. What does the talent pipeline for the league look like? How do you go about attracting all that top talent, whether it's here at home or internationally, and competing with other career prospects that they have either on or off the ice?
Well, I think with the visibility of this league and the idea that you have the best players in the world playing here, it's sort of a natural gravitation for any player who's playing the game that wants to play at the highest level. So there's that. And then each year we have an entry draft. So there's a declaration process. So as an example, last year we had 167 players declare themselves eligible for the draft, meaning they'd like to be included and eventually selected. Unfortunately, we only selected 42 players from around the world. We had 7 rounds of 6 picks. So this year we're in the midst of that declaration process, and we're seeing a very similar type of number that's starting to come out here. So we know we're getting the attention of players around the world, and there's still not enough spots for all the players that obviously would want to be a part of this league. But it's also important for us that we have the best of the best. And it's exciting to see the top NCAA, youth sport, players from around the world that want to be a part of this league. And it's really encouraging for the overall growth.
You talked about visibility, and obviously the visibility this season is much higher. I believe in the first season, it was predominantly available for free on YouTube. And this season, you can watch it on traditional TV channels or also on streaming. So I wonder if you could give us a sense of what the viewership is like, what the reaction to that has been like.
Well, obviously, I think the PWHL is part of a larger movement in women's sports, as we discussed. In season 1, we were available all over the world on YouTube. And I think we had 88 different countries tune in. And I think from a strategic point of view, that was one of the best decisions we made because we made ourselves accessible to everyone. The reality of professional sports is you can't always do that, and you can't always provide your product for free. So, this year the strategy was a little bit different, but we have these incredible partners that want to be, again, a part of this movement. And so now we're still fairly easy to find. We have some mainstream television partners. We're still on streaming platforms. We're on regional sports networks in the United States. So it's just continuing to grow. But obviously media rights are something that's really critically important to any professional sports league. And that's something that we continue to work towards. But I think it's one of the most important things to our success is making sure that people can see us and they can be a part of the league and a part of the growth of the league.
I wonder also as well, how important of a role do you see the PWHL playing in promoting girls hockey? Just a little anecdote. I actually went with my daughter to go see a PWHL practice game in Toronto last year. And it was so amazing to see how excited the girls were to see all the players. They were sitting there cheering like, "We love Sarah Nurse." They couldn't wait to get on the ice and meet them, and just seeing that real excitement that's building from the ground up. So I wanted to get your thoughts on how important that is to the PWHL for both a broader sense of the importance of women's sports, but also empowerment of the next generation.
Well, I think we have such a large role to play in, I always talk about the societal change that we're actually having. And part of it is on young girls and that idea of what they can become. And in the words of Billie Jean King, if you can see it, you can be it. And so that's a really important part of what we're doing. I also think it's incredibly important, the impact that we're having on young boys and that they are admiring the female athletes in our league the same way they do as male athletes in other professional leagues. And that's going to have a long-lasting effect on our society. And then I think we have a strong responsibility to grow the game. It's something that we care deeply about. So both young boys and young girls. And we've recently launched our grassroots growth team and some people specifically in the hockey ops department that are really leading camps and clinics and even a tournament. We had our first tournament in Minnesota this past weekend, and we had over 36 teams and 900 athletes be a part of it. And it just gives us an opportunity to provide resources to young players to play the game, our athletes are incredible role models. So they end up going out on the ice. They end up doing autograph sessions. There's merchandise that people can't seem to get enough of. And so all of these avenues are part of how we continue to help young kids want to play the game. And I would also say older folks. We also had a fantasy camp for the first time this year. It was an 18 plus, and we had a woman in her 70s who attended the camp who still loves the game and wanted to play. And then we had, women that never thought they could do something like this or be a part of a community in a camp like this. And so we're trying to bring the game to everyone, all genders, all ages, and really just celebrate the passion that people have for the game. And ultimately, we're going to be a big part of the growth of the game as well.
I wonder if we could talk about the outlook for the third season. Obviously, the second season is not quite done yet, but already you're seeing a lot of great turnout and interest, particularly, as you mentioned, the takeover tour. Seems like there's a lot of appetite to expand the league. Is that something that's on the horizon, if that's something you could talk about?
Yeah, we've been incredibly public about our interest and excitement to grow the league. And again, as we continue to become, one of the top professional leagues in the world, we need to continue to grow. And so we are looking very closely at expansion for as early as season 3. There's some pretty good due diligence and significant work happening as we speak on that part of it. So that's something that's really exciting for us. I think with the success of the takeover tour this year, it's something we're going to look forward to next year as well. Maybe some similar cities, definitely some new cities, and really have people have the opportunity to experience the PWHL firsthand. Right now, only being in 6 markets, our markets have received this so well, but we want to make sure that we continue to build the PWHL fandom outside of those markets. So that's another thing. And then I think just the overall skill and talent within the league, that continues year over year to get better. Next year is also an Olympic year, so we're going to see women's hockey under the Olympic spotlight, which is something that everyone always enjoys. So there's a lot to look forward to in season 3, and certainly the work never stops. We have lofty goals, and we're going to continue to work diligently to get there.
Mm-hmm. I want to take a bit more of a step back to sort of ask about maybe your personal thoughts and your personal experience. Obviously, for you, hockey has been at the center from playing as a kid, playing in Team Canada, gold medal, silver medal, and obviously now building the PWHL. What does it mean to you personally to see the league hit those milestones like the 1 million fan attendance mark and just this growing interest in women's professional hockey? What does that mean to you?
It's been an incredible journey, certainly from my playing days, and even go back further. I suppose when I started playing the game at 6 years old, I just loved everything about the sport, and it was all I ever wanted to do. And fortunate enough to have a family, my parents, who encouraged me to chase that dream, even though at the time my dream was to play in the NHL and win a Stanley Cup. But they never told me that that wasn't possible or I couldn't do that. So I think at a very young age, I understood that I can dream, and I can dream bigger than maybe what I can see, and went on to have a great career and be able to be an Olympian and play for Team Canada. And then since retiring, having the opportunity to be on the other side of it and really try to help advance the game. And I spent 4 years leading the Professional Women's Hockey Players Association. So really from a player perspective and advocating for what we believed could be a truly professional women's hockey league, which then turned into the PWHL. And so I just feel so fortunate to be able to be a part of it. And I often get asked, if I wish I could have played in it. And of course, there's part of me that would say, yes, I always wanted this as a player. But now for me to be able to be a part of building it and shaping it and work with the incredible people I get to work with who all care so much about what we're building and understanding how meaningful it is, it's just been amazing. And to see the response, we always had hopes and dreams that this would be the response and that it would be this successful, and very much in the early years. So lots of work to do still, but I don't think I could have imagined a more successful launch. And now we get to just continue to think big and grow this league into something that we certainly never seen before, but also to just have such an impact on the game is something that's pretty special.
Thank you, Jayna, very much for joining us in the podcast and talking to us about the success of the league and also your personal experiences.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
I've been speaking with Jayna Hefford, the Executive Vice President of Hockey Operations for the Professional Women's Hockey League. The game audio you heard was courtesy of the PWHL. The Perspectives podcast is made by me, Armin Vilagaya, Stephen Maurice, and our producer, Andrew Norton. For a transcript of this episode, as well as other stories, insights, analysis, and thought leadership, visit our website, scotiabank.com/perspectives. We'll see you next time.